there's no other industry that can say, sure, I'll build it for you. You can try it. And only if you like it, you'll pay me on an outcome-based pricing model. But with AI, well, software specifically, but in the AI era, you have this opportunity of doing like that if you want to give your customer this benefit and provide them value. And that's why we chose to do it this way.
I'm Ryan Heath, and welcome to the AI Leadership Lab, where I interview C-suite leaders about their AI journeys. We cover what's working, where they're getting stuck, how they pivot, and the lessons they take from the losses. Welcome back to AI Leadership Lab. Joining me in this episode is Larissa Schneider, who is COO and co-founder of Unframe AI. Larissa, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Excited to speak to you today.
Excellent. Maybe let's start with the basics. Can you tell us the origin story of Unframe and what the problem was that you identified out there in the market that you wanted to go out and solve, and how you're going out and solving it now?
Yeah, absolutely. So Unframe was founded at the beginning of last year, so 2024. There was three of us at the start, three co-founders, and we were all working together at Noname Security, which was Shai, who's our co-founder and CEO. It was his previous company. Adi and I were working with him there, and it was like that moment, we were having fun in cyber, but the ChatGPT, the LLM moment happened, right? And that kind of changed everything for anyone around the world. But really what we felt is like all enterprises and boardrooms around the world were trying to figure out, what do we do around AI, right? And there was a lot of vendors that came running and tried to rush at taking people's money and value, really. Like either the SaaS companies that all suddenly became AI companies, adding random features, if you will, to try and increase the annual ticket size. You had a bunch of new point solutions that were popping up everywhere, trying to solve really, really narrow use cases with, again, a very high price tag. And then obviously the big winners of AI, all of the consultancies that are offering AI strategy, if you will, often pretty lengthy engagements, resource intensive, but ultimately low impact. And so we said, who's actually going to come in and provide value for all of these enterprises rather than taking it?
Perfect.
And yeah, that's kind of how we started thinking about how to get enterprises onto their AI strategy and implementation in a very fast, scalable, non-risky way.
And I've heard you describe in the past that the kind of behind the scenes element of any enterprise is just a bunch of building blocks, a little bit maybe like the Lego building blocks.
Exactly.
And that you can move them around like you would if you were building a Lego house. Can you sort of tell us what you see those building blocks as being, and sort of why you think that's such an efficiency play for those enterprises?
Yeah, absolutely. And it took us a while and a few iterations to get to this point, right? But when we started the company in March last year, literally within 4 weeks or so, we went out to the first conferences and met the market. That was extremely important for us to not sit in a basement and think about what could AI possibly do, but work with real enterprises on their real challenges, their real data, their real environment. So that is how we first started seeing that even though we might be working with a company that's like an investment bank, or we are working with an insurance company on internal use cases and with a real estate company on their external use cases, ultimately these businesses are so different and they all have very similar problems if you break it down to the technical components needed to actually solve these issues. And so kind of the three big categories that we see most often is around observability and reporting. So all of the AI use cases that touch search, analytics, BI, and extraction abstraction, which is all of the unstructured data that you see in the enterprise. So it might be, Excel files, emails, spreadsheets, financial statements, reports, and all of that. And then automation and agent, which are all of the workflows. And obviously, we all have heard a lot about AI agents. So anything that helps with action and decision making. Yeah, so those are the three main categories that we see. And basically then what we did is we took the most challenging, the most time-consuming, the most complex areas and put them into these building blocks. And now we have a huge library of hundreds of deep technical building blocks that we take to, and anytime we start with a customer on any of their AI projects. So really think about if you take a Lego box and you want to build a spaceship, or you want to build a a building or a police station, like you ultimately start with the same building blocks and only take the ones that you need to get the outcome that you're looking for in a very scalable, very fast way of doing it.
And I've seen so many organizations get stuck on this idea that because their data isn't organized or because they haven't sort of been able to unpack their workflows to even think about how an agent would intersect with it, that they kind of just like get stuck at a very early stage. Have you found that, or what's your best trick for getting people out of that mental block to see sort of this underlying structure that you're talking about and that they too can play with the Lego blocks?
Yeah, funny is honestly it's one of my pet peeves, because I think it's something that's ingrained into people by the large consultancies that have been like trying to sell 18-month data cleanup, data tagging type of problems. And usually it is when they try to do too many things at the same time, which is why we really try to get to a specific use case. We will never come into a business and say, integrate all of your data and good luck, here you go. AI is not at that specific stage right now. So what we're doing is we talk to the business user and we really talk about what is it that you're trying to achieve. We pull in the data that's needed for it. And sometimes it is a whole copy of their Salesforce instance, but sometimes all they need is the customer names and the opportunity details, right? So like we really try to take what we need. But in general, we can say, if a human can interact with it, the AI is smart enough to figure it out as long as it's tailored into the right direction and really, put to what it's meant to be and not too broad. And that's honestly why we're seeing extremely high accuracy when we work on a use case by use case tailored basis rather than any of the point solutions off the shelf that are like one size fits all.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think what the right metaphor is, but I just feel like since we got the explosion of LLMs into the market, that there's this like sprawl of different sort of solutions out there, like a kind of an unending sprawl that has to streamline at some point. But then
Yeah.
your point about the big sort of consultancies reminded me as well that it's kind of like sort of people have this wrong mindset about change now. Like I feel like change is something that happens every day with AI, and you've just got to have these muscles that deal with it. And this old mindset about change is kind of like, oh, it's this big project or surgery that starts on this date and ends on this date. And it's kind of like
Yeah.
two wrong mindsets that we have to undo for people.
Absolutely. Honestly, like I just got off a red eye from San Francisco and like just driving to and from the airport into the city, it is so overwhelming. Like all of the billboards that you see every few meters is like I don't know, like everyone's become an AI platform at this stage, and it's actually quite comical to look at it. But honestly, what you just said, like this set and sewn surgery long term and everything, we try to do everything against the playbook, honestly, in that regard. So in our case, we said, let's put our money where our mouth is, and you will get your custom software for a use case that you told us, and you will try it without any commitment or any cost up front. And we did this on purpose so that people can feel the value that they're getting. And I don't think there's a specific other industry where you can do that. Like Shai always says, if you are moving houses and you want a custom sofa, well, try to go to a sofa builder and you tell him, I want this size and these measures and this color and this fabric. The first thing he will say, sure, I'll do it for you, but give me 50%, give me 100%. And then you're like number 500 in line, and maybe next year you'll get something. There's no other industry that can say, sure, I'll build it for you. You can try it. And only if you like it, you'll pay me on an outcome-based pricing model. But with AI, well, software specifically, but in the AI era, you have this opportunity of doing like that if you want to give your customer this benefit and provide them value. And that's why we chose to do it this way.
Or if you're very smart, you have the ability to do that. I've worked for AI companies that don't know how to do that. They get caught up in not just delivering the custom product, which is hard enough sometimes, but in delivering all these custom pricing models. And they would spend hours trying to figure out what to charge the customer instead of just giving it to the customer. So there's lots of ways that the business model can fall apart, even with the benefits of AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, thinking about that marketplace, like your story about the billboards in San Francisco, which I can relate to, there's kind of like both the hype on one end and then the ignorance on the other end that are like big factors in these marketplaces right now. How do you guys go about balancing sort of engineering truth and innovating those business models with a kind of visionary storytelling. That's kind of a lot to handle without kind of either playing on ignorance or like giving into that sort of temptation to hype.
Yeah, I mean, we've really seen a shift over the last 12, 18 months now that we've been doing this. And last year, a lot of the conversations were still around like, I know we have to do AI, but we don't know where to start. The board is pressuring us. Like, can you help us start? At this stage, what we're seeing, like really the last like 6 to 8 months, is people have a list. So a lot of the central leaders, probably the first person in the organization that asked for what are we doing around AI, got the head on like, you're the AI strategist now, And so that they have a long, long backlog that they're trying to move through as fast as possible. And sometimes those are easy ones, and it's less about strategy, but just like pushing them out. And that's really where we try to be as most like scalable for the leaders in the business as possible. So we're pretty good at knowing like what is a good low-hanging fruit for them to get quick wins, and we prove those. And as soon as we have one of those, because of our broadness and width of our platform, we can actually tackle quite a lot of those. And there's never been an opportunity for customers to get through that many AI use cases in a scalable way as quickly as they have with us over the last few months. And so we see some of our early customers within a few quarters now, they have moved from 1 to 5 to 17 different use cases now. And the advantage of working with one platform is they basically share a joint layer on top of our platform. So they really have, we call it the knowledge fabric. So any user behavior, any integrations, any connectors that were built for one of the solutions is shared across all of the solutions. And therefore they don't start from zero. They really always have like the brain that's already switched on, and therefore they get a lot more accurate results and a lot faster. And often that has been shaping that strategy. So like by seeing
what's the interface with Unframe? Are they playing around in the platform themselves, or do they go and take a problem to one of your engineers kind of and put themselves in a queue to kind of get a custom solution for whatever the use case is?
Yeah, they can do quite a bit self-service within the interface, but only after it's stood up. So we specifically did not want to be a platform which is like a no-code, low-code type builder, or kind of the prompt to SQL interface to build something, because we don't see that as the enterprise reality. We are working not with like solo entrepreneurs. We work really with regulated industry, a lot of the Fortune 500s. And so there, obviously, it comes with a lot more complexities that the individual user shouldn't and couldn't probably handle. So we have a pretty simple process, 3 steps usually. We get on the first call and we land on the right first use case. So usually they either have an idea or we help them guide towards one that we think is a good starting point for them. We go away for a few days and then we come back and they will already have a full, complete production-ready solution that runs on our platform that they can start trying. Either they can hook it up to dummy data or in their own data, whatever feels more natural to them. And if they like it and they have tested it, only then we'll move to licensing. But ultimately, 45 minutes is kind of the time commitment that they're doing on an initial call to talk about the use case. So really not the lengthy surgery, but like the quick fix.
Okay. Well, and if I was talking to an AI user as a guest, one of the questions I've always asked them is kind of like, what did you get wrong first time and how did you pivot? So I guess my version of that question for you is sort of how long did it take to refine that process? Did you kind of stumble into it straight away, or did you have to learn that there was a smarter way to do it based on kind of what the customers were telling you early on?
Yeah, I think any startup that tells you they got it right all in the first get-go, probably not being completely true. So I'll tell you a bit behind the scenes. When we first started, we thought, let's just build like 5 or 6 different products on top of our platform, because we feel like they're very repeatable use cases and we can just sell them off the shelves and be good to go. We will revolutionize any other SaaS, in no time. What we felt, one of those was on top of Salesforce, another one on top of ServiceNow. So like natural language questions, analytics on top of like the legacy heavy ERPs or systems of records. And we felt there's no two companies in the world that use Salesforce or ServiceNow or Jira in the exact same way. So there was a lot of customization that needed to be done for every single one that is obviously needed to provide real value and accuracy. So what we did is actually say, why do we need to take something that is half-baked, if you will, and then customize it? Why can't everyone get what they need specifically tailored to them from scratch? Because with AI, we can. And so that's how we pivoted. And so, yeah, so ever since then, everyone has gotten exactly what they wanted. And to this moment, not two companies are running the exact same solution on top of our platform, despite having hundreds and hundreds of solutions at this stage.
Excellent. Now, thinking about the culture that allowed that sort of pivot to happen, sort of what kind of company culture have you tried to invest in so that you could sort of have those really flexible, highly customized outcomes? It's kind of like, it sounds great, but it's a lot harder to do than you make it sound. So I was wondering a little bit of like what the secret sauce is that has worked for you.
For sure. I mean, look, we from day one started building with people that understood customers will go first. No matter what happens internally, no matter what happens in sometimes our personal lives in the first year or years of a startup, like any customer that will work with you, that will choose to like give you a chance, we need to make sure that they're covered to the best of our abilities. So that really shaped things, and that's shaped a lot of the product as well, because otherwise if we had sat in silence with ourselves, we would have never gotten to the platform that we have nowadays. That's super important. We also have built a complete global team from the start because we chose to work with global enterprises. That's what our background has been. That's what we did at Noname. Before that, I spent 6 years at Nutanix. So really kind of on the large enterprise sales and marketing motion. And so we really made sure we are where customers are. We follow 24/7 around the sun models. And I think that really helps. Like I can't emphasize that enough. If the customer always comes first, every internal problem that there might be, it's easy to fix. But the external stuff, that's really what you need to nail down.
Yep. And so glad to hear you talk about the global nature of the company and the global teams. I think that is a real strength when any company can sort of build that in from the beginning. With that sort of global 24/7 overview of the marketplace, have you noticed any trends in terms of like how your solutions are being adopted? Is it kind of one country that races ahead? Is it one type of company that gets it more than the others? What sort of the trends that you think are worth noting here?
Nothing is ever the way that you think it would be. We offer, for example, specifically for our customers in regulated industry, we start offering on-prem deployments. So if they can't do SaaS or they can't have any models that run in the cloud or anything like that, we're like, let's give it all locally, and at least that bypasses a lot of the CISO's red tape. And all of a sudden, it's like you have a Fortune 100 investment bank that runs a SaaS, and you have like a IT vendor that should be completely tech first that says, no, we can only run on-prem. So it's never quite the way that you think it would be.
Let me guess. It's a German company that wants to run on-prem.
Actually, it actually is not. It's actually an American one.
I'm glad to be proven wrong.
Yeah, but it could have just been like that. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I think mostly it depends on the person that you're meeting and how you are interacting with them to find a use case. What we see is like either they are in the process of exploring and like a bit scared of testing the waters in AI, or you're starting to talk to someone who has an immediate need and they're like, maybe AI could help me. Like I just have a pain that I want to solve. I didn't think about AI, but maybe this is the right moment for AI to jump in. And just a couple of weeks ago, I signed a PO in just over 3.5 weeks in a 200-plus-year-old very legacy business in Switzerland. And it was really exciting because it showed sometimes you just don't know in advance. And this was an amazing success story, super fast. And then they're feeling the impact already.
Those are some of my favorites. I've seen it in other generations of technology where
Hmm.
sometimes an entire country or industry has missed one generation of technology, and then they kind of really go from being so far behind. Like I'm thinking about the sort of African countries or marketplaces
Hmm.
that just skipped laptops and desktops completely, just went straight to mobile, and then all of a sudden they were more efficient than people in the US and Europe sometimes. So I love
A
to hear.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot on the podcast so far about kind of regulatory or responsible AI sort of practices, and sometimes how hard it can be to feel your way around that in the absence of hard regulations. Are there any sort of ethical or emotional questions that keep you up at night? And that doesn't have to be about the product per se, but kind of like what are those things that you kind of sort of worry about into the future that you've got to keep an eye on?
Interesting. Honestly, maybe I just don't have time to worry about anything that's not internal right now. I'm
That's fair. That's
I,
pretty startup standard culture as well.
yeah, but let me think. I think overall, as long as it's to a certain extent it is managed, it doesn't worry me too much. Sometimes I've talked to global enterprises and their strategy has been like, let's give an agent framework to all of our employees so they can all build their own agents. And I was like, oh my God, like, can you even imagine? Like,
That's
I know you have like 25,000 employees. Like, are you sure that they have the understanding of like putting automated workflows and actions to internal, external teams? Like that gives me a bit of a stomach ache. So I asked for
Yeah.
a second call to present Unframe to them, just to make sure. But overall, I'm seeing a lot of good when it comes to people's happiness, because all of a sudden all of the manual tedious tasks that they used to do and all of the human error, just because there was so much of manual work, is being eliminated, and they actually get to like work on something that's way more fun and possibly more strategic for the business. So I'm
Right.
seeing a lot of good, but let's see what happens. We're in the first inning, I guess, of what is possible, and there's a lot more to come. Let's just make sure that companies are being thoughtful about it, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Now, one of my latest theories I wanted to ask you about
Hmm.
is I had seen a few sort of media stories in recent weeks, including Oracle, for example, but a bunch of companies like Spotify was another one, I think, where they were like, we're appointing co-CEOs. We've got two CEOs. And my reaction was, you're getting it all wrong. Like, you don't need two human CEOs, but you do need two CEOs. You need to sort of kind of have the agent alter ego of the CEO so that person can operate 24/7 or be in all the marketplaces they can't physically be in at a given point in time. And so I guess the theory I wanted to ask you about is like sort of where you see the next few years of AI. Like, can you imagine someone in the next C-suite member in Unframe being some kind of agent or some kind of shadow to one of you guys who are sitting there in those roles at the moment?
Interesting. I hadn't thought it like that. But I'm seeing a lot about like the digital twin, like
Mhm.
the alter ego that monitors everything you're doing, understands what you were gonna act on a few frictional seconds before you do. So I,
Yeah.
I could definitely see that being like a good productivity helper for the individual. I haven't thought about the board member, but actually, now that you bring it up, last week, or yeah, last week I was in New York and was
Mm.
talking to someone at an investment bank, and they told us as part of their investment committee making decisions every Monday in their meeting, they have four humans and one AI.
Oh,
The AI
wow.
does not have veto power, but it
Mhm.
does give pretty good indications in real time, and does vote. So I thought that was the first time that I heard it, and I thought that was super interesting.
Wow, having the actual vote. I imagine they would
Mm-hmm.
kind of like ask the AI for its vote, but then not include it in the tally. They'll be like, we
It
have
is
the right
not like it's not binding, but it does
Yeah, yeah.
vote. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow.
We did ask them how often it's voted different than the board, but there was not enough data yet to give us like a full-fledged answer on it, or maybe they didn't want to. But I thought it was super fascinating.
Okay, I'm going to hunt this bank down and chat to them. Okay, maybe one last question, and it's
Hmm.
this is always such a dangerous question. So, don't answer it if you don't want to. Um, but if you had to think about kind of where AI is going to be in, I don't know, let's pick a number, like 3 years or 5 years time, what's your vision for what cutting edge AI is going to look like then? And feel free to add in like where Unframe is going. Like, where do you want Unframe to be in 3 or 5 years' time?
Interesting one, yeah. So I think in general, what we're seeing a lot less starting now, but especially in 2 or 3 years, are these like heavy systems that are off the shelf, that people actually change their internal processes to use. It's like, oh, I have the software, so whatever I do needs to fit into that software. That's like super outdated. We don't need that anymore. What the switch that we're seeing and that we want to support is that software fits the humans and the enterprise processes that they have evaluated, and not asking like for lengthy change management of like learning how to do a specific tool. All of that should be helping the human and helping the enterprise, not the other way around. And so that's really what we want to facilitate, and have everyone be a lot more productive and have a lot more fun at work.
I think a lot of people are going to be very excited to hear that vision. I know that I have been very interested to learn more about Unframe and how you approach all those problems. Larissa Schneider, thank you so much for joining us on AI Leadership Lab.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. 2 things before you go. First, if you'd like to appear on the show or know someone I should have on, you can find me through ryanheathconsulting.com. Finally, please tell a friend or colleague about AI Leadership Lab. Even better, leave a short 5-star rating or review on whatever platform you found this podcast. It'll help us reach more of the people who'd enjoy these tips and tricks. Thanks, and talk soon.